wow, this episode really tickled my heart. I just got done talking with a long-term friend of mine, Johnny Schwartz. And to see your friends thrive and be successful in their endeavors is just, it's the best feeling. And he launched his clothing line 5 years ago. And honey, it's on Justin Bieber, okay? It's on Charlie Puth. We're not talking about some little rinky-dink line. So I'm so excited that, I got to really get to know what that journey was like for him. And for anyone who may be launching a company or a business, he really provided some interesting insights, if you will. He also pulls back the veil and really lets us know it is not as glamorous as we think, honey. That shit is treacherous. We're talking 80-hour work weeks. So if you're interested in the fashion industry, or if you're interested in creating your own business, this episode is for you. You know the deal. Gotta shout out leisure. Keep yourself hydrated. The summer's coming up. It's about to be a little toasty because we keep fucking up the environment. Anyway, ePetros 10 for 10% off, and welcome to Emily Talks To. Hi, Johnny.
Hi, Emily.
How are you?
Can't complain.
Yeah?
Yeah, doing
I
it.
swear you get hotter every time I see you. It's a little crazy.
Wow, I'm flattered.
So, Johnny and I have known each other since 2013.
Mm-hmm.
We went to Boston University together. My friend is your ex-girlfriend.
Yep.
And we just run amok. Run amok. Your apartment was the spot to be, also known as Gibbs.
Yeah, you and I think especially hit it off quickly. We clicked.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. I remember walking into your apartment for the first time as a freshman. You were a junior at the time?
Yeah.
Humble brag. And I just came in guns a-blazing, and I think you and I, we clicked.
Yeah, I mean, it's you. You definitely would always come in guns a-blazing.
Always. One tit was out.
Oh, my God.
At all times. But, yeah, something about your apartment really kind of fostered my college experience. One story in particular, which you're smiling now, I hope you're thinking of the same story.
I have no idea where you're going to go with this.
Where I was named Houdini.
That's up to you if you want to disclose that story.
Famously, after a night on the town, if you will.
Yeah.
I come home to Gibbs.
I was in London.
Correct, because someone was in your bedroom. You were subletting it.
Yeah. I was FaceTimed when this all came to light.
The next morning?
Yeah.
So I have sexual intercourse, if you will, with the gentleman who's subletting your room.
Correct.
In the windowsill, to be specific.
In the windowsill?
In the windowsill.
Nice.
You'd be surprised what a metal spine can do. And then I went into the kitchen in the wee hours of the morning to get myself a glass of water. And kind of on my tour back to that room, I stopped into your other roommate's bedroom.
Field trip.
It was a field trip. And I may or may not have blown him. So
I never asked you what prompted that decision.
I just was being a silly goose. I think I was probably still drunk.
Yeah.
And the second trip on my rounds, he's such a sweetie pie.
Nice guy.
Yeah.
Couldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah. And we just kind of got into bed. We were giggling. And the next thing I know, his dick is in my mouth. So Gibbs was a really special place. I will say you do seem the same as you were back then.
I do?
Yeah. Like your essence is still the same. But
what is that?
Like you're still Johnny.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that. I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All
but
right.
What do you think has changed?
I'm still neurotic. So that stayed consistent.
Okay.
I think there's an inevitable maturation, right? Like going from a 21-year-old guy to a 31-year-old guy, which is crazy to think it's been that long.
Like, do you think you've been hardened by the world a little bit?
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's also like you think the things that stress you out then are, you wish you had that now.
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
Do you remember the pure cortisol that would pump through our veins over just like the smallest shit in college? Because it was really life and death then.
Yeah.
But then now you're like, bills,
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
It's heavier.
It's a lot more serious. I mean, you're thinking about like building your life.
Right.
And back then you're thinking about like, where are we all going tonight? Or like, I can't miss going out this one weekend.
Sure.
You know, like, and I think as far as like what's changed with me, I mean, I almost like want an outside perspective on it. It's hard to like look inwardly, I guess,
Yeah.
and think about like, cause you feel this, like I feel the same.
Well, and there is definitely a familiarity seeing you here now. Like there is something, I don't know, like I don't know if it's you saying you're neurotic, there's a goofiness, there's a levity. I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's easy to start to lose that too. Like, especially with what I do, it's meaning like owning your own business. It can be so all encompassing and consuming that it's easy to like lose sight of the fun things, you know, and just focus on like, I have to do this next, you know, like one thing after the other. And it's sometimes you've got to like check back in and just
giggle,
chill out.
Yeah. I do feel like there's this collective, QAnon, like consciousness happening where everyone's just kind of like, we're floating on a rock. Like, why am I stressed about these things? And can we just go all play in a lake? But then also like got to pay rent. So the reason why I have you on is because you are a clothing designer, a successful one at that. And your company's named Yony. I want to know how it came to life. Like the who, what, where, when, why. What was the year? Why did you get to that point? How did you get to that point?
Okay.
Tell me.
I'll start with the general background, name, and then inception.
Okay. Because we know Yony also means vagina.
Which we'll get to.
Okay.
We're not going to skip that.
Okay.
We're not going to skip that.
The floor is yours.
So I come from a typical line of like New York Jewish Garmentos, right? Like my dad's dad was a dress salesman for 44 years. My dad's mom worked in her sister's dress shop. My dad was in the clothing industry for like 50 years. I worked for him full time for 5 years, interned for him in the summers. So obviously I have background and like it's all I really know, right? And
You grew up in it.
I grew up in it. I'm always self-conscious about that because I'm like, is it like a nepotism thing? But then I think whatever people think from the outside, like that's fine. But when you actually do it and you're like the one like grinding at it every day, you know, kind of like what your experience is. And I know what mine is, you know? That being said, I always wanted to start my own menswear brand. Like from when I started working and learning more about the industry, I started to think like, hey, I could maybe do something like this. And I saw these other cool brands popping up that I still aspire to be like Noah. And well, really Noah's, to me, that's like king.
Okay.
You know?
Is that the name of a clothing brand?
Yeah.
Okay.
New York based.
Okay.
This dude, he was the creative director at Supreme. I'm not like a big streetwear guy, but that's like his background. And then his wife is an interior designer and so on and so forth. They've done like a great job. It's really cool stuff. Anyway, so I went to dinner with my then girlfriend, now fiance, and my two best friends at Sammy and Amir.
Okay.
And they were like, I've been talking about starting a clothing brand, and they're like, you need to do it. Just do it. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. And I decided in that moment, I was like, I'm going to start doing this. And this is like late 2019. And while we were at dinner, Amir's friend, Yony, walked in. And I was like, that's just like Johnny in Hebrew. I'm just going to call it that. And I'm not like religious at all. I celebrate Christmas and Easter, but Jewish for sure. And I like practicing Jew. Sure. But I was like, that's just like a good way for it to be my name without it being my name. Then very few people knew I was working on this. I can't remember who it was. Someone called me and was like, do you know what that means? I was like, what are you talking about? And they're like, it means vagina. And I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I had already been like designing a logo.
I was gonna say, did you like pay for like patent or like?
Nothing yet,
okay.
But I was about to, and I had spent hours like doing a logo, like drafts, everything, YONI.
Sure.
And then I was like, I'm not changing the name. And I was like, I'm gonna drop the I, make it 2 Ys. I found out that I could get that domain name, bought it, and went at it that way. And I think aesthetically it looks great because it's bookended with the 2 Ys.
Totally.
Yeah. And, and then that was early 2020. Pandemic.
Rough.
Hits.
Rough.
And then I was like, this is surely going to end at the summertime. So I just kept going into my factories in downtown, like during peak pandemic. And just kept going and going and going.
To get it off the ground.
Yeah. And then by the time like October rolled around, we're still in COVID, and I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to launch it and see what happens.
Dude, there is really something to say about people who turn their ideas into something material, because I feel like, especially living in LA, people are a lot of talk. And they say, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and I have this idea, but you did the damn thing. I mean, you really turned it into something. And I remember going to your opening party, or your launch party. So many people were there to support you. Like, I feel like people really, from the jump, wanted to see you succeed. Do you feel that presence around you when you're launching a new line? Like, do you feel that support, or are you kind of like in your lane right now?
I think on a day-to-day basis, you're in your lane, but like, I'm very fortunate. I have a lot of friends, and like, I couldn't ask for more from like people that I consider close friends, and people that I don't even consider, like, that I'm not that close with, that I don't talk to. They've all come and supported me.
Right.
And even with like this new store that I'm opening, my fiance's friends, well, they're my friends too. Her and her girlfriend came by, brought me coffee. They each bought something. They wear the stuff all the time, and they're always like thinking of me. And same with a bunch of people. And same with Amir and everyone. And it means a lot, because when you're in that like slog, because people think it's like this like cool, sexy business where you like have a brand and like you just like have a store and there's famous people sometimes wearing your stuff. It's like, that's like the most minuscule, tiny part of it.
Sure.
Every other day is like a grind.
Right.
You know, and you're like in the factories and you're in the office and you're dealing with all the boring stuff. And like, when there is an opportunity to support and people do that, like, it means a lot.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'm seeing it from my end of like your launch parties or any new release, but that's a small fraction of the day-to-day. Right. No one's holding your hand throughout that process.
Yeah, that's like, holy shit, it was like a marathon to get here, and this is like the last quarter mile of the marathon. Right.
So then you mentioned that your dad, I mean, your entire lineage is in this industry.
Yeah.
Did people ever give you shit that, oh, your dad must have done this, or your dad must have launched it for you? Like, have you had to deal with the whole nepotism conversation?
Not really. I think people know me, the people that know me personally. I don't know how other people see it, but they know me well enough to know that like, that's not how this went, you know?
If anything, I feel like your dad's pretty hard. Like, he's like, if you're going to do this, good luck, buddy. Like, there's not...
Anyone that he would want me to experience this the way that he did it. And the business is just brutal. And also, like, I'm in menswear, and he knows that the business is crazy, and he's like, if you want to do this, like, good luck to you, like, pave your own path. And don't get me wrong, there's been instances where I've been able to use fabric vendors that he worked with before, which is a huge help, a huge advantage to be able to like have that contact off the bat, because so many people have a hard time doing that. But like, things that people assume like, oh, you must know all the factories and this and that, and it's like, no. Like, the industry has changed so much, even from when my dad stopped working in it. Like, I have all new relationships, vendors. And my dad is a lot older. He's 79 now. He's 48 years older than I am. So a lot has changed.
Do you guys argue over like who has it harder?
Definitely not over who has it harder. I'm pretty self-aware of the fact that like, I don't think it's about who has it harder. It's more so like, I'm aware that I haven't been successful to the point yet where I consider like I've reached my point, right? Mm-hmm. And he'll remind me of that. Like, you haven't made it, you know? And
he likes to humble you.
Oh yeah, he'll check me at every instance possible.
Okay.
And I think that's important though, to like know your place.
Sure.
Like, I think you want to know, like, don't get cocky, don't assume anything. You don't deserve anything.
Oh,
you know,
wow.
like you have to like earn it.
Yeah.
You
yeah.
know?
Well, I feel like, okay, there's two sides. Maybe now compared to when your dad was launching his company, things might be a little bit more accessible. Technology is on our side now. But then now, tell me if I'm wrong, I feel like the fashion industry is so much more saturated. Like anyone, air quotes, can make a fashion line. So it's like, how do you stay relevant? Or how do you keep bringing the cream to the top?
That's, I think, it's a double-edged sword, like you're saying. Like, back when he was doing it, it was like, can you get into these big stores? And can you be the best salesman possible? And if you can get your stuff in there and you can nurture a relationship, you can become successful.
Because it was all brick and mortar.
All brick and mortar.
Okay.
You can go to, if you can break Saks, Bloomingdale's, Dillard's at the time, like all these big stores.
Robinson's May.
Yeah, you can like become this big success. But now it's almost like you have to have great product, but you also have to have an amazing story. And then even if you have a good story, you have to be able to articulate it and visually tell it. And that is costly, difficult, and like you're trying to get people to give a shit.
Right. You have to get people's attention.
I was talking to this guy I met a few months back who owns a competing brand, which I really admire. And it was one of the most interesting things someone has said to me that's like currently in the industry. He was like, if you took Yony and then named like 5 other brands that we compete with and said, if you put them all in a store together, it's really just, they could all be the same brand. The only thing that differentiates us is the story that we tell and how we tell it. Meaning the product it's interchangeable. We're all making good stuff. You know, we're all doing it, but it's really like, what do you have to say? And I think that's the difference now, is like telling that story.
And then how do you tell that story? Through social media? Like, how are people getting your story?
So that's our biggest challenge, and we're making a huge push into it right now, which is we're filming all sorts of stuff. We came up with, like, we're doing all different sort of like what we call like buckets, like different tiers of content. So there's like the more filmic content where we have like these kind of stylized editorial conceptual shoots, and we're working with like commercial directors to do this, and like, but on a much more creative side. It's really the story. The videos are not about the product, they're about the brand. So we're doing that. We're doing a documentary with me and my dad, so like some literal storytelling.
You're trying to evoke some emotion.
Evoke emotion and pull back the curtain and create like an aspirational, like, I hate this word.
Say it.
Vibe.
Come on,
right?
vibe.
Like, but like something that when our customer sees it is like, I want to shop the brand now. It's not, I want to buy this product. It's like, I want to be a part of the brand. And we had a customer come in this weekend to the new shop, and it was a female customer actually, which we get like a small percentage of female customers, which is great. And she was like, I'm buying this jacket just because I like the story. And she loved the jacket, but to get her over the edge to purchase was about the story.
So that probably hits really hard with you, right? Because I'm sure there are clients who just like the pants and want to buy the pants. And yeah.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like, I'm talking so much about the brand, but if your product isn't right, you'll never sell it.
Right.
If the fit's wrong, if the fabric sucks, if the quality sucks, like if the styling like isn't good, like it's still not going to work. This is all assuming your product is good.
Right.
Because it's
well,
not
it's
just
also
enough.
So you. like it's so authentically you, which I feel like if you are in any creative industry, if you're trying to create something that is what you think other people think is cool, but it's not necessarily connected to you specifically, I feel like
feel it.
Yeah, there's like this inauthenticity. I mean, you're wearing a full Yony outfit now, and
of course, I'm obligated.
Obviously, but I feel like this was your style when I knew you in college. Like there was something very timeless about, I mean, it's obviously much more, chic than what we wore in college, but
I've always been, and this is the basis of the brand, inspired by the styling of the era my dad grew up in, which is like 1950s, like New York, Brooklyn, and like A Bronx Tale and all those movies. So
that's your inspiration.
That's my inspiration.
Okay.
So I like the trousers, the white tee, and just like a jacket. Like I want, when I produce something, for the customer to like go back into their wardrobe in like 5 years and just be like, yeah, that's still cool.
Yeah.
I don't want to make stuff that's like
trendy,
it's cool for next Friday, and then you're like, why did I buy this?
They are very timeless pieces, and they're all just like sharp. It's no, cut out, ripped.
Yeah.
It's very timeless. I also wonder, and again, this goes with any person working in some creative industry, you have this vision and you're very fueled by your creativity, and also you have numbers you have to meet, and you have these like very, I don't even know the word, but how do you stay creative while also being in this logic part of the industry?
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. And I think hopefully what happens is your creativity translates to something that is commercially successful, and then the commercial success can dictate it to an extent, right? So it's like you make this jacket, people love it, people buy it, and then based on that you can either make more or make something similar, but then it gets counterbalanced with, then you have to bring something new. And that's where you have to have a brand identity where people expect a certain category, whatever it may be, from you, but you have to keep bringing something new, otherwise you can't keep up. It's tired.
You can never be in the present. I feel like you're always looking like a year ahead.
Yeah, I mean the calendar thing is crazy, which we try not to adhere to too closely, but yeah, especially if you want to be in these stores, like you have to be, I'm on like spring 2025.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But like how does anyone know? Is it just like quote forecasting? Like
I pay no attention to that.
Okay, you just stay in your lane, you know what you like,
Otherwise, like we're going to be trying so hard to like, obviously certain things inform your decision making, right? Like we'd all be like, there's a reason why certain brands, you start seeing everyone's making carpenter pants. There's a reason for that. And I think though, like subconsciously, like it's my job to be paying attention to what I think is cool. And ultimately, like for me, it's like, what do I think is cool right now? And what do I think like the Yony customer would like? I'm not being like, well, they're making tapestry winter vests, so we have to, like it's just, I'll find a fabric. I'm like, this is awesome. I could make like a cool pair of shorts with this.
Well, I feel like, and that's what helps it age well.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there's consistency. So, okay, on that topic, hate to sound like Al Gore here, but I feel like sustainability with fashion is a huge topic right now, and how fast fashion is contributing to like the demise of planet Earth. Is that something that you are conscious of when you are creating your pieces?
I would say we're conscious of it almost to a fault.
Okay.
Especially like at the inception of the brand. I mean, when I say to a fault, I mean it like figuratively, because my point is to be conscious of it can be extremely costly, and you have to make sure that it doesn't affect the success of your business, meaning the customer needs to care too. And I think that's the one thing everyone forgets is when it really comes down to it, like if we're being honest here, like if my cotton is organic, but it's $15 more expensive, are you going to buy it because it's organic?
Sure. Well, it depends on your market, right?
Yeah. And so that's what we're trying to educate our consumers on, because we strictly manufacture everything in LA, and we do every single process here. So we cut, sew, wash, dye, screen print, embroider, anything you could think of. And sustainability is a weird word. It gets thrown around like really recklessly, in my opinion. And for us, like, I think it's a broad arching topic. I think sustainability also counts to overseeing your production and making sure it's actually ethical. And so for us, when I'm in our factories all the time, you know, I'm seeing everything. I know it's all good, you know, but when you're seeing stuff that's made, I'm not going to name specific countries, but like
wink, wink,
but just like in places where I know you can't control. How could you control it?
Right. There's not as much surveillance.
Yeah. And then for us, I mean, the fabric qualities that we're using are amazing. Like this wool is RWS certified, responsible wool standard certified. It's from sustainable ranches in Oregon. It's knitted in Massachusetts. And then so it's a fully domestic product. This is from a 200-year-old, the Czech is from a 200-year-old mill in the United Kingdom, and this is 100% cotton from Italy. So we only do American, European, or Japanese fabrics, and I could go on and on about it. I would say like about 30 to 40% of our fabrics are listed as sustainable, but they're all like transparently sourced and made in their country of origin from start to finish.
Now, this may be too broad of a question, but do you think fashion can be sustainable and also affordable? Because I understand if you're getting fabrics from a sweet old man knitting it handmade with golden threads, I get it. And I'm not saying that those companies shouldn't exist by any means. And also, like, is it more of like the psychology of consumerism? If we teach more of a mindset of like, you don't need to have 4 different tube tops of the same style. Like, I guess I'm trying to ask, like, is it attainable to be sustainable and affordable?
Yes and no, because I think the biggest brands in the world, like, you know, like the fast fashion people, Zara, I'm sure they're at H&M, whatever, they're weaving in different fabrics that are sustainable. But there's also like a self-awareness for the brand too, where some people can't afford what we're making. And like, that's just is what it is. Right. And that's not fair to fault them for not buying it. Right. Because it's not inexpensive product. I think if Yony were to grow and be more successful, it makes it easier for us to bring down the price point on sustainable items. Because the more we make, the bigger our fabric orders are, the less it's gonna cost. So
wait, I thought that's the opposite of supply and demand, though. Wait, if you have a higher demand,
our costs will go down. The more we buy from a fabric vendor, the less we have to pay, because the bigger the bulk is, the less expensive the fabric's going to be, which then we can bring down our cost on our item.
But if you're buying more from that factory or from that vendor, will they then up the price because then they see that you're wanting more of it?
No, they should. Typically what they'll do is they'll hold our price because we're providing them with so much business. Right?
Okay.
I mean, obviously there's so many other factors that go into this, like, you know, cotton prices have been like skyrocketing. It's like the same thing with like lumber, right? Lumber
or gold
prices
is at the highest price it's been in.
Yeah, so
ever.
There's different factors that inform this, but if there are, let's say, you know, if you buy 200 yards of fabric is $20 a yard, but if you buy 2,000 yards, then it's $15 a yard, which it doesn't sound like a lot,
but it adds up.
Does make a big difference when you're doing like a full cost sheet. Yeah.
So then I want to know what your least favorite trend is right now, whether that's within the fast fashion industry or within like high end and anywhere within that spectrum. What's your least favorite?
I don't know if there's something specific. I really don't like articles of clothing that I would deem to be like disingenuous. So like,
what do you mean?
Things that are like taking a look for the sake of it just being like a fashion item and they're not actually functional. So like double knee pants, like all this workwear stuff, we make some of it, but it's made from fabric that like it's actually functional. Like I built out our new store wearing our double knee pants because they're...
I see what you're saying.
Do you see what I mean?
I see.
Whereas like you get these brands that are like, workwear is trendy now, so I need to go get like the cheapest cotton twill I can get and make it. And it's like, people are just wearing it for the sake of wearing it. Like that makes me
that bums
a little
you
crazy. Out. Like we use a 9-ounce organic cotton twill from Texas to like make this stuff. Like, and it's got 16 rivets across it, metal tack buttons. Like it's all functional. You know, like I want it to work, and I'm like, nitpicky and crazy about it.
But like a construction worker would not wear your pants.
No, they're too expensive. This goes to it. But again, I appreciate the fact that the quality
is there. Okay.
You know, and the functionality is there.
Okay.
You know.
So, okay, I have a question that's kind of on this topic. How then do brands like Steve Madden quite literally make a Miu Miu sandal? Or like, how are these bigger, cheaper brands ripping off other luxury brands? I mean, to a T. Like, they're pretty similar.
It's the quality. It's hard to tell when you're just like, if you take the knockoff and you just look at it as the knockoff alone, you're like, this is amazing. This is like the same thing. But then if you were to take it and put it next to the actual item, and don't get me wrong, a lot of these luxury brands, like, it's ridiculous how expensive it is. It's so overpriced.
It's leather at the end of the day.
Yeah, but if you compare them next to each other, the quality is insane. Like,
but the design, there's no like legalities over copying. Like, you don't have to like patent a design.
You can't patent a high heel shoe, right? No, I'm serious, because this is a very common question. You can't patent like a chore jacket. You can patent artwork and like a print, but you can't say like, no, that's my chore jacket. It's like, well, the silhouette, how many people have made that before? Think about it. In like all the years, right? So when it comes down to like these brands doing these knockoffs of it, it's really just like the quality in which it's made, and the materials are way, way shittier.
But it's still legal. I mean, listen, I have some Steve Madden boots that...
No, I mean, look, again, like, the thing is, like, I don't think we can, like, vilify people that are shopping at, you know, some of these less expensive places, because there is a barrier to entry when some of the stuff is too expensive to get. Like, there has to be a balance of that. That's like why our white t-shirt, I price it at the wholesale price, because I feel like it should be accessible for everyone. I hate the fact that, like, if you want a good white t-shirt, it's $100.
Insane.
So ours is $55.
And let me tell you something, that white t-shirt,
that's a buttery white t-shirt.
Kerrygold. Yeah. It is the softest, most luxurious. I mean, better than some of the $100 ones. It's exquisite.
The fabric is as good, if not better, and it's made here, and we pre-wash, pre-shrink. You know, it's like transparency is really what it's all about when it comes to the sustainability, in my opinion. Like, that's really where it's at, is like, this fabric is sustainable or it's not. But the one, like, this wool, I could tell you all about it. The Shepherd Check one, you know, maybe it's not technically sustainable, but I know exactly where it's being made in the UK. I know what they're using. I know where the wool comes from. You know, like, that in itself is important.
I was going to say, are there levels to sustainability? Like, I think when...
people are just slapping this word around and just throwing it on.
Sure.
And so it becomes like, it's like an abused word. And then I think the customers are smart enough to know, like, are you just saying this? And
well, it's like greenwashing, right?
Yeah.
People are like, it's organic.
You have to show it. So
right.
For us, like, we'll tell you, like, we have a fabric section on the site that'll tell you about every single fabric. And it'll say, this is where it comes from. This is what it's made of. This is where the mill is. All that stuff. And so if you really want to know, we're going to let you know. But it's up to you, because some people don't care and some people do. And I think you have to respect that on either side.
Do people ever lie about that? Like, sometimes on Zara, I'll see they'll put like 100% Okotex or what. I don't even know what that means. Like,
it's like
it's a fabric, right?
It's a verification standard.
Got it. Yeah. Is there a world where they're lying? Like,
Zara, I mean, you'd hope not, because I doubt it for them, because they could. That's illegal.
They could get sued up the wazoo.
Like, yeah, it's illegal.
Okay, so with every episode, I do a little bit of word association.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you 4 words, and I want you to know or tell me first thing that comes to mind. Anything. Okay. Person, place, thing, what have you. Are you ready?
Hit me.
Buttonhole.
Thread.
Textile.
Expensive.
LVMH.
Pharrell.
Hash slinging slasher.
The Jason movies.
Incredible. You don't remember the hash slinging slasher from SpongeBob?
Well, now that you say it, I do.
It rings a bell.
But when you just said slasher, I was like, what slasher movie is coming to my head? And actually, when I said Jason,
Sure.
but I wanted to say Halloween, but I'm like petrified of scare. Like I couldn't. We tried to watch like the original Halloween.
You couldn't do it.
I have such a hard time.
Even the old ones.
Oh yeah, I'm like such a baby.
Stop.
Yeah, scary movies. I watched The Exorcist when I was like 5 years old with my mom and sister, and it was my first nightmare.
Oh, it fucked you up.
It fucked me up. I am petrified of The Exorcist.
Did you watch any of the new like Ari Aster movies, like Hereditary?
No.
Midsummer?
No.
The spooky ookie dookie ones?
No. None of those are for me.
Yikes.
No.
Okay,
More
we
of a
learned something new.
Sopranos guy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So probably the most important question that I have for you is, can you set me up with any of the models?
It's funny. I get this all the time. Like whenever I'll like post a new product and people will be like, "Oh my god, the model." I'm like, "Can you just like buy the product?"
No, fuck the shirt. The model is. How do you source these models?
A lot of the times it's just through like the agency.
Okay.
Like different agencies, and like you just have to cast them and see who like fits the brand. Again, it's all storytelling. It's like, does this person embody the brand?
They can embody me.
Yeah.
They are so, and they're not this like Ralph Lauren chiseled jaw la la la. Like you kind of think you could get them, but we can't. They're like top tier hot people, but there's something
I'm not
kind
putting you out of the race. Come on.
Well, okay.
Come on. Give
Listen.
yourself some credit.
Oh, I think I flirted with one of the models at your release party.
Did you?
And it didn't go well, but I still have hope.
I think you're right there.
Okay.
Let me keep an eye out for you.
Okay.
Let me see who's.
I love an introvert.
Introvert?
Yeah, that's my sweet spot. Yep.
An introvert. I'll keep that in mind.
Someone who could like, you would find him reading a book under a tree, but who like would also blow my back out. So kind of that, you know what I mean? That kind of mix.
Right. Just, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
So I've seen Yony on some pretty big names. Justin Bieber, Charlie Puth.
Yeah.
How did they get there? Is it all word of mouth?
I think at the onset it was, because I opened my first shop that was supposed to just be a pop-up on La Brea, and one stylist came in with some of his friends. He bought a good amount of stuff, and then he started pulling with us, and I think the stylists all follow each other, and it's all through the stylists. Like, the stylists are they have the keys, right?
It's kind of like an agent for an actor. Like once an agent sees you.
Every celebrity you see, no one dresses themselves. Everyone they think is so cool, they all have someone dressing them.
I mean, that used to be me. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think once one stylist posted us, the others kept following. Like then we would get all these like we got hit up for like Donovan Mitchell, and like I'm like a big NBA fan, like huge nerd, and like I was like, no fucking way. Like just walking out like to the game wearing like these pants and the matching jacket. I was like, no way.
Yeah, do you get geeked out? Like certain people. Yeah.
The Bieber one, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
You know, Donovan Mitchell, like same thing.
And then
it's all.
Do you ever see celebrities where you're like, maybe don't wear that?
No, I mean, I appreciate any and all of the support, but then it becomes a PR thing. We eventually like got PR, and then they are constantly communicating with the stylists, and just kind of you try and like nurture and develop those relationships just so they know like we're easy to work with. We want to support where we can. Just like let us know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so in that instance, it's not that you sell or you send out the PR first. A stylist will dress them in Yony. You see them and then you say, hey, let me send you more. Or does it depend?
It's typically like, hey, this person is going to this event. They need this. Do you have anything available? Then we'll send them a list. They select it. And then it's a crapshoot. Then it's like, because you're competing with every other brand, especially for us, we're competing with like, these celebrities have access to any brand in the world they want.
Right.
So like the biggest ones in the world, and you're just hopefully they choose Yony.
Oh, that's so rewarding. Yeah.
You know, like, and sometimes they do. And you get lucky, and it's cool.
That feels awesome. So now that you have a little bit of clout,
I don't know about that, but if you say so.
Do you feel like people are taking advantage of you ever? Or is there kind of like a dark side to starting to become a little bit more successful?
I don't think I'm at that point.
No.
I haven't felt like used
Okay.
in any way. I mean, there's certain things in business that get like pretty contentious.
Right.
You know, like that's a different thing.
Or people coming from your past being like, hey, so proud of you. How are you doing?
No, and I think honestly, like, if anything, people have been like pretty genuine with like, hey, I'm trying to get a start. Like, do you have any advice for me? And I try and be as helpful and honest as I can because, you know, at the end of the day, like, what's going to happen? Are they going to like take away my entire customer base? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'd rather give someone like some advice to get going. I mean, that being said, I'm not saying I'm a saint, you know, like I think the unsaid thing in the clothing industry, nobody wants to give up like their main contractors because those are like, it's still very old school with that. Like you can't just Google like best sewing contractor in Los Angeles. Like there's no website. It's all like word of mouth
insider
industry. Like I know this person that told me about this person and then I met them. And like, so that's the hard part. I think for most people trying to start out is like, where do I even get going? Right. You know, and then there's so many challenges to run into.
It's like you want to lend a hand, but you don't want to give them the whole arm. Yeah. You're like, you gotta
I also think it's important to like try and find your way a little bit. Right. You know, because even if you get handed like the best contractor or whatever, if you're not ready for that, if you haven't like made the mistakes beforehand, like everything's gonna zoom right past you.
I also think if you're given everything, the reward doesn't hit the same unless you work for it. Okay, boomer. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Now, you're recently engaged. I know you have an amazing friend group that you've known for decades. Yeah. I also know that you work insane hours. I mean, you are responsible for this, I'm saying monster in the nicest term, that you've created. Do you feel like that ever takes a toll on your relationships? Like on your fiance, on your friends?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Like in a way that I never knew would happen. Meaning like, especially like the past few weeks, because we're like trying to get out this new collection and we've got another new division launching and I just opened a store and I built it myself. Like I'm doing like the drywall and the building of the furniture and repainting it. And obviously like I had my uncle and my cousin helping me like do the building, but it's just us. Right. And when you're working like over 80 hours a week, you're working like, you know, 13, 14 days straight without a day off, like that weighs. And also like in the way that, you know, we started this conversation to bring it back full circle. Like this is stuff that like you didn't know was going to be impactful when you get older. Like being 21 and being 31, it's so different. Like not like coming home after working like a 13-hour day and being so tired that you just fall asleep. Like obviously that's not going to bode well with my fiance. She's not stoked that I'm just like working and sleeping and working and sleeping. Right. And so that is really tough. And then you see people less, like, you know, your friends, and that's why it's important to like, you can go 150 miles per hour for a while, but eventually like you are going to run out of gas. And that happened to me like yesterday and today. Right. And today I'm doing this and I'm going home. Right. And I'm sitting on my couch.
You've created kind of your boundaries or your just ways to rest.
Sort of. You have to blow through them sometimes. Like these past 4 weeks, like I've like completely put aside everything. Like it's
like, I don't need to eat. I don't need to sleep.
No, seriously, it affects like, I'm not joking. This is too much information, but like you even start to forget to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Like I need my 20 minutes on the toilet.
Oh, at least.
And then that gets forgotten. Like 4 days later, you're like, whoa, I haven't gone to the bathroom. Because you're just grinding. And
it's like, honey, if you're not shitting, you're not keeping up with your friendships. I'm going to tell you that right now.
So I think you can do it. Like you can go overboard, but eventually like you need to be like, okay, I went overboard. Now I need to like reset. And right now I'm in that, like, let me reset. Let me plan out my work for like the next 2 weeks. So hopefully it doesn't have to be so crazy. And I can like pay more attention to my personal life, to the people that are important to me. So I don't like sacrifice that, because you can't do it forever. It's not fair. It's not fair to the people that are important to you, and it's not fair to yourself.
Right. It's the balance.
Yeah.
I also think your friends know you and love you, and they know that maybe if it takes a week, 2 weeks, you will get back to them.
Yeah, there's a lot of text messages that haven't been responded to.
Sure.
And I feel bad about that. But, you know, mainly the people that I'm like most concerned about not providing enough attention to is my fiance and my immediate family.
Yeah.
Like that's where you've really got to be like, hey, those people need to know that they're still the most important.
Right.
You know?
It's incredible that you don't have darker under eye bags.
What?
I mean,
oh wow,
you look well rested. I know as hell you are not, but you are faking it.
You know what happened to me 2 nights ago?
Huh.
I was really exhausted, and Jamie was like, you should take a bath. And I was like, you know what? I will take a bath.
You took a bath.
So I was getting ready to take a bath, and there's a little candle on our bathtub with matches. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to light a candle. So I went to strike the candle, and it didn't light. And I was like, what? And I struck it hard, and the tip of the match lit, flew up straight into my eyeball. I collapsed to the floor.
No.
And I was like, Jamie. And she was like, what? And then she came in. I was like on the floor, like water, tears running out of my eye, like clutching my eye.
That's what you get for trying to relax.
That's what I get.
Wow. The universe says,
No
not
way.
for you.
Nope.
Wow. That's harrowing.
Drain that bubble bath.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
So I end each episode with the same question.
Okay.
And it is, what do you wish more people understood about you?
Huh. That is a good question.
I usually say that can be within the context of you as a clothing designer, you know, working with Yony.
Yeah.
Or that can be you as Johnny Schwartz.
Okay. I think for me, it would probably be like, I'm anxious and I'm trying hard. Meaning like,
Yep.
hey, I've got my own anxieties and that's ways, but like, I care and I'm doing my best.
I love that.
And just like for everyone, and I'm not saying people don't think that, but just as like that's what I would want, is that people know that like I care a lot about them. And you know, I understand we all have our own stuff, and it's like we just gotta like give everyone a break.
Totally.
You know?
We're all trying our best.
Yeah, doing our best.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to post Yony's website, the socials. You need to get the damn white t-shirt. At least get the white t-shirt.
Give me the shameless promo. What else?
Yep.
New tennis stuff coming in a month.
Tell me.
What else? We've got Spring 24. We got reversible liner jacket.
Yep.
We got all the stuff.
And the shit's going to last forever. I'm telling you, the stuff is made really well.
Well, we'll have to get you in some of it. Some of the new stuff.
Well, I do fit into the men's pants, so.
Nothing wrong with that.
Let me
the
know.
Men's pants looking cool.
Well, thank you.
Of course. Thank you.